You know what the most exhausting thing in the world is? It's not failure. It's not even hard work. It's living for everyone except yourself. I spent years doing that. Years smiling when I wanted to scream. Years saying yes when every part of me was begging to say no. Years building someone else's dream while mine collected dust in a corner I was too afraid to look at. And one morning, I woke up and didn't recognize myself. Not my face, my life. I had become a stranger in my own story. If you're watching this right now, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. That feeling of being pulled in 1,000 directions, of being so available to everyone else that you've become unavailable to yourself, of being so busy managing other people's expectations that you forgot you had your own. And here's the part that hurts the most. Nobody forced you into this. You walked in willingly, one small yes at a time. Stay with me here, because what I'm about to share isn't motivation. It's not some speech designed to pump you up for 3 hours before you fall back into the same patterns. This is about waking up, really waking up. And it starts with a truth most people spend their whole lives running from. Here's what nobody tells you about losing yourself. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small surrenders, tiny compromises, little moments where you choose peace over truth, comfort over growth, acceptance over authenticity. You say yes to a career you don't want because your parents will be proud. You stay in a relationship that drains you because leaving feels harder than staying empty. You scroll through your phone for hours because facing your own thoughts feels like walking into a room you're not ready to clean. And slowly, so slowly you don't even notice, you become someone you never meant to be. I remember looking at my life on paper and thinking, this looks successful. Good job. Nice place. People who seem to like me. But inside I was scattered, fragmented. Like a mirror that had been dropped so many times, the pieces didn't fit together anymore. Present in rooms, but absent in my own mind. Busy with everything, but building nothing. If you've ever smiled through a conversation while screaming inside, if you've ever laid awake at 3 a.m. wondering how you got here, then you already understand what I'm saying. But here's where it gets interesting. The hardest part wasn't the emptiness. The hardest part was pretending it wasn't there. Smiling through the hollowness, laughing at jokes I didn't find funny, nodding along to conversations I'd already mentally left. I became an expert at performing life instead of living it. And here's the thing about performing. It's exhausting. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind that lives in your bones. The kind that makes you feel old, no matter what age you are. You know that feeling? That bone-deep tired that coffee can't touch? That's not laziness. That's your soul telling you something is wrong. If any of this sounds familiar, I need you to understand something. You're not broken. You're just scattered, and scattered can be gathered. But first, you have to stop. Really stop and look at where all your energy is actually going. Now, I want to talk about the lie. There's a story we tell ourselves. It sounds noble. It sounds selfless. It sounds like something a good person would believe. The story is this: I matter because people need me. I believed that story for a long time. I wore my exhaustion like a badge. I collected responsibilities like trophies. I said yes to everything. because being needed felt like being loved. But here's what I learned the hard way. When you make yourself indispensable to everyone else, you become dispensable to yourself. Think about that. You become the person who's always there for others, but never there for you. The one who gives advice, but doesn't take it. The one who holds space for everyone else's dreams, while your own suffocate in silence. And the cruel part, the people you sacrifice yourself for often don't even notice. Not because they're bad people, but because you've trained them to expect it. You've made your own disappearance feel normal. I had to learn this in the hardest way possible. There was a time when I was running on empty, completely depleted. I'd given everything to a project, to relationships, to being what everyone expected. And when I finally needed something back, is less than #0. 5# is greater than. When I finally needed someone to show up for me, silence. Not malicious silence, just absence. Because I had taught the world that I didn't need anything, that I was fine, that I could handle it. And the world believed me. That was the moment I realized the lie. Being needed isn't the same as being valued. Being busy isn't the same as being purposeful. Being available isn't the same as being present. And giving yourself away piece by piece, that isn't generosity. It's abandonment. Self-abandonment. If that hit you, if you felt something just now, I want you to drop a word in the comments. Just one word that describes how you've been feeling lately. Tired, lost, stuck, whatever it is. Be honest. You're not alone in this. Now let me ask you something. How much of your day actually belongs to you? Not to your job, not to your family's expectations, not to the endless scroll of other people's lives on a screen. How much of your day is actually yours? Most people can't answer that question honestly, because the honest answer is terrifying. Almost none of it. We wake up and immediately reach for our phones. We check messages from people who want something. We scroll through news that makes us anxious. We consume other people's thoughts before we've even had one of our own. Then we rush through a morning that isn't a routine at all, just a series of reactions to whatever comes at us first. We get to work and spend hours on tasks someone else decided were important. We sit in meetings that could have been emails. We answer questions that could have been Googled. We put out fires that should never have started. And by the time the day is over, we're too exhausted to do anything meaningful. So we collapse in front of a screen, numb ourselves with entertainment, and tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow looks exactly the same. And the next day, and the next. Until one day you look up and realize years have passed. Years of reacting, years of responding, years of living someone else's agenda while your own life waits in the corner, patient and forgotten. This is not living. This is surviving. And you were not built to merely survive. Here's where things change for me. Change doesn't come when you want it. It comes when you can't avoid it anymore. For me, it came on an ordinary Tuesday. Nothing dramatic happened. No major loss. No crisis. Just a moment of stillness that cracked everything open. I was sitting alone, finally alone, and I asked myself a question I've been avoiding for years. What do you actually want? Not what should you want. Not what would make everyone else happy. Not what looks good, or sounds impressive, or fits the story you've been telling. What do you want? and I couldn't answer. I sat there for what felt like hours, and I couldn't find a single answer that belonged entirely to me. Every dream I reached for had someone else's fingerprints on it. Every goal was tangled up in proving something to somebody. Every version of success I imagined was really about being seen a certain way, not about being fulfilled. That's when I understood I hadn't lost myself all at once. I had given myself away in pieces so small I didn't notice they were gone. And now I was sitting in the middle of my own life, holding nothing that was actually mine. Maybe you're in that place right now. Maybe that's why you clicked on this video. If you've ever felt that emptiness, I need you to know something. It's not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that something is trying to wake up. That hollowness you feel, it's not the absence of purpose. It's the presence of readiness. You're ready to come home to yourself. Now, this is the part most people skip, but I need you to stay with me here, because this is where everything changes. There's a moment that separates the life you've been living from the life you're capable of living. It's not a dramatic moment. It's a quiet one. It's the moment you decide to focus on yourself. Not in a selfish way, not in a way that abandons responsibility or ignores the people who matter, but in a way that recognizes a simple truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot lead others somewhere you've never been. You cannot give what you don't have. And you cannot win a life you're not actually playing in. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's the foundation everything else gets built on. I made that decision years ago, and I won't lie to you, it was terrifying. Because when you decide to focus on yourself, things start to shift. People who were used to the old you get uncomfortable. Opportunities that were wrong for you stop coming. The noise of everyone else's opinions gets louder before it gets quieter. You start to feel alone in a different way. Not the loneliness of being invisible, the loneliness of being visible for the first time. Of standing in your own life without hiding behind busyness, without the armor of being needed, without the distraction of everyone else's problems. Just you, facing you. And that's where real growth begins. But here's what they don't tell you about focusing on yourself. It means elimination, not addition. We think growth is about adding more skills, more connections, more achievements, more everything. But the deepest growth comes from subtraction, removing what doesn't serve you, cutting away what drains you, letting go of relationships that only work when you're small. I had to learn this slowly. First, I eliminated the obvious, the habits that were clearly destructive, the people who were clearly toxic, the commitments that were clearly wrong. But then came the harder eliminations. The good things that weren't great, the fine relationships that weren't fulfilling, the acceptable situations that were actually just comfortable prisons. And this is where most people get stuck. Because cutting out the bad is easy. Everyone can see it needs to go. But cutting out the good that isn't great, that takes a different kind of courage. You know the difference between a person who wins and a person who just survives? The one who wins knows what to say no to. They understand that every yes to something wrong is a no to something right. Every hour spent on distraction is an hour stolen from destiny. Every relationship maintained out of guilt is energy drained from growth. Focus isn't about working harder. It's about working only on what matters. And you can't know what matters until you clear away what doesn't. Let me ask you something real. When was the last time you audited your life? Really looked at where your time goes, where your energy goes, where your attention goes? Most people are terrified to do this because they know what they'll find. Years spent on things that don't matter. Relationships that drain more than they give. Goals that belong to someone else's vision of their life. The audit is painful, but it's also freedom, because once you see clearly, you can choose clearly, and choice is power. If you've never done this, try it tonight. Write down everything you spent time on this week. Be honest. Then circle what actually moved you toward the life you want. Most people are shocked by what they find. Now, let me tell you about the people who actually win. They're not the most talented. I've seen incredibly gifted people waste everything they were given. They're not the luckiest. I've seen people with every advantage throw it all away. They're not even the hardest working in the traditional sense. The people who win are the ones who refuse to be distracted. While everyone else chases every opportunity, they chase only the right ones. While everyone else tries to please everyone, they focus on becoming someone worth pleasing. While everyone else spreads themselves thin across 100 shallow pursuits, they go deep into the one thing that matters. That's the difference. Not effort. Direction, not hours worked. Hours focused, not what you start, what you finish. I learned this through failure. There was a time when I said yes to everything. Every project, every request, every opportunity that looked shiny from the outside. And I was busy, incredibly busy, running from thing to thing, feeling important, feeling needed. But I wasn't building anything. I was just moving. Motion without progress, activity without achievement. It took me years to understand that busyness is often a form of laziness. Lazy thinking, lazy priorities, lazy boundaries. It's easier to stay busy than to decide what actually matters. It's easier to react to whatever comes than to proactively build what you want. But easier isn't better, and busy isn't winning. Here's the part nobody talks about. After the decision, after the elimination, after you've cleared space for something new, what happens next is quiet. And that quietness scares people more than the chaos ever did. Because in the quiet, you have to actually build, not perform. Build one day at a time, one brick at a time, one small, unglamorous action at a time. There's no applause in the quiet work. No one sees you at 5 a.m, putting in the hours before the world wakes up. No one sees you saying no to the invitation because you've got something more important to protect. No one sees the discipline it takes to stay focused when everything around you is noise. And that's the point. The quiet work isn't for anyone else. It's for you. It's you keeping a promise to yourself, day after day after day. And here's what happens when you do. When you show up for yourself consistently, something inside you starts to change. Not motivation, not excitement, something deeper, trust. You start to trust yourself because you've proven through action that you mean what you say. That when you commit to something, you follow through. That you're not the person who quits anymore. You're the person who builds. And once you trust yourself, everything shifts. Decisions become easier because you know you'll handle whatever comes. Fear becomes smaller because you've already walked through harder things. The opinions of others stop mattering so much because you've found something more solid inside. This is what people miss about focus. It's not just about achieving goals. It's about becoming someone you can respect when you look in the mirror. Someone who does what they say they'll do. Someone who has stopped waiting for permission to live their own life. Now, I need to be honest with you about something. There is a war being waged against you every single day, and most people don't even know they're losing. Your phone is a battlefield. Every app is designed by teams of engineers whose only job is to keep you scrolling. They study psychology. They exploit your dopamine system. They know exactly how to make you feel like you need to check just one more time. Your environment is a battlefield. Advertisements everywhere, telling you what you should want, what you should buy, what you should look like. A constant stream of messages designed to make you feel incomplete, so you'll consume your way to wholeness. Even your relationships can become a battlefield. People who want you to stay the same because your growth makes them uncomfortable. People who need you to be small so they can feel big. This is the world you're trying to focus in. And if you don't understand the war, you've already lost. The people who win aren't smarter than you. They're not more disciplined by nature. They've just built better defenses. They've created environments where distraction is hard and focus is easy. They've surrounded themselves with people who lift them up instead of pull them down. This isn't paranoia. It's awareness. And awareness is the first step to freedom. Now, let's talk about what's coming. Because the obstacles will come. They always do. The moment you decide to focus on yourself, the world will test you. Old patterns will call you back. Old relationships will demand the old you. Old doubts will whisper that you're not capable of change. And there will be moments, maybe many moments, when you want to quit, when the progress feels too slow, when the loneliness of the path feels too heavy, when you look around and everyone else seems to have it figured out while you're still struggling in the dark. I need you to understand something about those moments. They're not signs you're failing. They're signs you're growing. Growth is uncomfortable. That's how you know it's real. If it felt easy, you'd still be who you were before. The resistance you feel, the doubt, the fear, the frustration, that's the old version of you fighting to stay alive. And it will lose. If you keep going, here's what separates the people who transform from the people who stay stuck. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not circumstance. It's the willingness to keep going when it stops feeling good. Anyone can focus when they're motivated. Anyone can show up when they're excited. But can you show up on the days when you feel nothing? Can you do the work when no one's watching and no one cares and it seems like nothing is happening? That's the test. And it's a test you have to pass over and over again, not once, not for a week, for months, for years, for however long it takes. Because the life you want isn't given, it's built, and building takes time that most people aren't willing to invest. Is less than #2, 5 hashes greater than there's something else you need to hear. About the people in your life. When you start to change, not everyone will celebrate. Some will feel threatened. Your growth reminds them of their own stagnation, and that's uncomfortable. Some will feel abandoned. They like the old you, the one who was always available, always agreeable, always putting them first. Some will actively try to pull you back. Not out of malice, but out of fear. Fear that if you change, they'll lose you. This is one of the hardest parts of focusing on yourself, realizing that not everyone deserves a seat at the table of your transformation. Some relationships will need to end, not with anger, but with acceptance. You've outgrown each other, and that's okay. Some relationships will need boundaries, clear lines that protect your energy and your focus. Some relationships will deepen. The people who truly love you will rise to meet the new you. They'll celebrate your growth, even when it's inconvenient for them. Pay attention to who responds how, because the way people react to your boundaries tells you everything you need to know about whether they belong in your future. The people who respect your no are the people who deserve your yes. If you've lost people because you started focusing on yourself, if you felt guilty for choosing growth over comfort, I want you to know something. That guilt is a lie. You're not abandoning anyone. You're finally showing up for yourself. And anyone who can't handle that was only there for the version of you that served them. I want to tell you something about time. It's going to pass anyway. A year from now, you'll be somewhere. The question is where? Will you be in the same place, having the same thoughts, fighting the same battles? Or will you be standing in a life you built, a life you chose, a life that finally feels like yours? The time is going to pass either way. The only difference is what you do with it. Every day you delay is a day stolen from your future self. Every excuse you make is a brick in the prison you're building around your potential. Every time you choose distraction over direction, you're voting for the version of yourself you don't want to become. I'm not saying this to shame you. I'm saying it because I've lived it. I've wasted years, real years, years I could never get back. And if I can save you from that same regret, then this entire conversation was worth it. You have time, but you don't have unlimited time. And the longer you wait to focus, the harder it becomes. Start now, not tomorrow, not Monday, not when things calm down. No, because things never calm down. That's the lie we tell ourselves. The perfect moment doesn't exist. There's only this moment and what you choose to do with it. So let me tell you what's waiting on the other side. There's a version of you that you haven't met yet, a version that's focused, clear, grounded in something real, a version that doesn't need validation because the validation comes from within. A version that's not anxious about the future because they trust their ability to handle it. That version isn't a fantasy, it's a possibility. And the distance between where you are and where that version lives is measured in choices, small choices, daily choices, choices that no one else sees but you. The choice to wake up early and work on your craft. The choice to say no to what distracts you. The choice to sit in the discomfort of growth instead of running back to what's familiar. The choice to keep your word to yourself, even when breaking it would be easier. Every single one of those choices is a vote for who you're becoming. And when you cast enough votes in the same direction, something miraculous happens. You become that person. Not overnight, not dramatically, but certainly one choice at a time, you build the life you actually want. So here's where we are. You've been pulled in 1,000 directions. You've lost yourself in other people's expectations. You've felt the exhaustion of living a scattered life, but you're still here. You're still watching, still listening, still searching for something that feels true. That search is sacred. It's the part of you that knows there's more, the part that refuses to settle, the part that's been waiting for permission to finally focus on what matters. Consider this your permission. Not from me, from yourself. Permission to stop living for everyone else. Permission to eliminate what drains you. Permission to go quiet and build something real. Permission to trust yourself, maybe for the first time. The world will keep spinning. The noise will keep calling. The distractions will keep coming, but you don't have to answer. You can choose to stay locked in, focused, building until you win. And here's the truth about winning. It doesn't look like what you think. It's not a moment of triumph. It's not a celebration with fireworks and applause. It's a quiet knowing, a peace that settles inside you when you realize you've become who you were meant to be, that the scattered pieces have come together, that the work was worth it, that you finally, fully belong to yourself. That's winning, and it's closer than you think. If you're willing to focus, if you're willing to stay, if you're willing to do the quiet work no one else will see, lock in. Not for them, for you, until you win. If this hit you, if something shifted, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me what you're locking in for. What's the one thing you're finally going to focus on? Be specific. Write it down. Make it real. Now, there's something I want you to consider. Focus is one half of the equation. You need to know where your energy goes. You need to eliminate distractions. You need to show up for yourself consistently. But there's another half that most people ignore. Your environment. You can have all the focus in the world, but if your life is chaos, if your space is disorder, if your days have no structure, then you're fighting a battle you don't need to fight. Willpower runs out. Systems don't. The next step isn't just about mindset. It's about architecture. Building an environment where the right choices become easy and the wrong choices become hard, where your mornings have purpose, where your space supports your growth, where your routines carry you forward without constant effort. I've watched people transform their focus only to fall back into chaos because their environment was still designed for the old version of themselves. Their kitchen was a mess, so eating healthy was a battle. Their bedroom was cluttered, so deep sleep was impossible. Their schedule was reactive, so every day felt like putting out fires. They had the mindset, but they didn't have the structure. And without structure, even the strongest focus eventually crumbles. That's what I want to show you next. The video is called Force Yourself to Get Organized in Life Before Chaos Takes Over. It's the practical half of everything we talked about today, because focus without structure is just good intentions. And good intentions don't build lives. Systems do. If this message stayed with you, if something inside you shifted, then the next step is already waiting. Don't let this moment pass. The old version of you would scroll away, would promise to come back later, would let this feeling fade. But that's not who you're becoming. Lock in. I'll see you there.